I'm Sarah Cowgill, along with Graham Noble, Joe Schaefer, Jim Fight, Dave Patterson. And this is the Conservative Five, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. It's getting a bit bumpy. This business of swapping hostages in the Gaza Strip. Latest reports, and this keeps changing, is more than 80 of around 240 hostages Israel says Hamas seized in its October 7 attack on Israel have been released. In return, Israel has freed 180 Palestinian prisoners. This conflict is less than 2 months old. Ceasefires are being called and extended. Dave Patterson, level expert at military affairs, Middle Eastern geopolitics, is never straightforward, is it? Of the 61 Israelis released so far, almost all are women and minors. In addition, foreign workers, mostly Thais, not exactly high dollar assets in terrorist talk. Who are they keeping?
Hamas is keeping Americans. I mean, I think that's a fairly simple calculus. In the world of hostage commerce, abductees from superpowers are more valuable because what the thinking is that a superpower is more likely to be able to influence the behavior of other countries, and in this case, they're looking to the U.S. to influence the behavior of Israel. To make Israel more cordial to the demands of Hamas. As it's turning out, Hamas has assessed the Biden administration pretty accurately. Since as we watch, the White House is really going wobbly, I think, on Israel. It's caving to the mobs of terrorists, sympathizers, in our big cities and on our university campuses. During Secretary of State Anthony Blinken's visit on the 30th of November with the Israeli leaders, he attempted to influence Prime Minister Netanyahu to ensure Palestinians left in Gaza were protected before resuming combat operations against Hamas. I mean, on its face, it is objectively stupid. While the conversations were going on, two Hamas terrorist gunmen, shot up a bus stop near Jerusalem, killing 3 innocent Israelis.
How does this administration do this? How did they do it? I don't get it.
Well, it's because they are so completely they just don't embrace reality. They want things to be the way they wish they were, as opposed to the way they are. And you're dealing with Hamas, which are absolute thugs and immoral in every possible way you can imagine. And, when Blinken goes over there, I think he's talking to the wrong group.
Well, yeah. I mean, we really going to trust a terrorist organization? I mean, anyway, but politically speaking, now that we kind of cracked that egg open, Graham, has this conflict and Hamas influenced the upcoming presidential election yet? And if not, will it?
Well, I hate to kind of throw a wet blanket every time I'm asked this question on any issue. How much will it affect the 2024 election? And my answer, as usual, is not significantly. I mean, I certainly believe that there are probably a percentage of Democrat voters out there who are so disgusted not only by the Biden administration's handling of this issue, but also they're disgusted by the just rampant wave of rabid anti-Semitism that has suddenly come out of the left. And of course, anti-Semitism was never a right-wing problem. It's always been a left-wing problem. And so I do believe there are a certain number of people who normally vote Democrat who are going to sit this next election out, maybe even if they can't bring themselves to vote for the Republican nominee. They are probably going to sit this one out and not vote for Biden. So I think it's going to have a certain amount of effect on the election. I don't think it will change the ultimate outcome of it. But definitely the Biden administration has really failed to, in their handling of this, they failed to appease the radical left, because they haven't taken a hard enough line against Israel, as the left thinks they should do. But they've also failed to, they've also disgusted the moderate faction of the Democrat Party by actually kind of, catering to handling Hamas to a certain extent with kid gloves almost.
I don't understand why people don't study history, really. I mean, that's what we got Jim around for. But Hamas is not exactly new at taking hostages for a high dollar ransom. Jim, why don't you fill us in on what their end game is? Is it money, exposure? What are we doing here?
Sarah, I'm sure they had a plan when this all started, but I don't think they really have an end game right now that's driving this. I think, and I say that because I don't think when they did this that they realized this was going to be the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. This is like right now they're releasing hostages to stop the pummeling they've been getting from the IDF, but I don't think they realized it was going to come back this hard. I think they probably thought either that the international community wouldn't allow Israel to really do what they did. I mean, basically, Israel's declared that when this is all said and done with, there will be no Hamas. Period. End of story. Close the history book on that one. Or that maybe they thought they could actually cripple Israel, because we know it was more than just the raids across the wall, right? I mean, there was a massive cyber attack. They attempted a sea invasion that failed. So probably originally they thought, hey, we'll capture all these people, and if we manage to crush Israel, or if Israel just doesn't really do anything about it, we can either sell them back, or they can have some of these big elaborate beheadings that they're so fond of. I mean, that's, I hate to put it that way, but I mean, look, they've always they've certainly proven that they're not above dramatically executing people for,
Well, their whole job is to
exposure.
make people afraid to get their
Yeah, for
way.
sure. But so I'm sure I'm sure they thought that that's how it was going to go, but then now they're in a fight for their very existence. To be fair, a fight of their own making. So they know the deal is, as long as we're releasing hostages, we aren't being destroyed.
Well, I mean,
Obviously, there's an expiration on that. They only have so many hostages.
I don't have an inside track on this, but I think that I think Jim is right to a large extent, where Hamas, I think, assumed that once, and of course they realized that Israel was going to strike back hard against them, and their control of the Gaza Strip. And I do believe that they probably expected the international community to jump in and say, "Oh, whoa, not so fast. No, you can't do that." I also actually believe that Hamas thought that Hezbollah would actually pretty much invade northern Israel, though, or that whole part of Israel that shares a border with Lebanon. I believe that they thought maybe that Hezbollah would jump in, and Hezbollah is quite a formidable force, and yet Hezbollah has kept. There's been some skirmishes, there's been some rockets fired, but they haven't done a lot. And I think probably they decided not such a good idea, because there's US warships in the Eastern Mediterranean that are very capable of just pummeling them if they did do that. So I think Hamas probably right now, I'm sure there's some back channel communications going on between Hamas and Hezbollah, where Hamas is saying, what the F, guys? Why aren't you
Kind of
backing
left them
us
holding
up?
the bag, didn't they?
Yeah.
well, I was just skimming a lot of different sources, and there was a lot of chatter about that Hamas was getting fed up with their people, Palestinians kind of going to the other side, liking the freedoms that they could get with an Israeli style government. And that was one of the provoking issues. Now, I don't know, I'm skimming, obviously, but
I think that what we're forgetting is Iran, and I think that as they like to say, I don't know who the they is, but the gorilla in the room is the fact that Israel had made and Saudi Arabia had made extraordinary headway in coming to accommodation with each other. Saudi was about ready to recognize Israel as a nation. That was absolutely abhorrent to Iran, and Iran really does hold the puppet strings here over Hezbollah as well as Hamas, and their proxies around the area, the Yemeni Houthis. And you can see that as soon as the tide of battle had significantly turned against Hamas, you had the Houthis begin to fire missiles and drones, and you had more after October 17th. You had an extraordinary number of attacks on U.S. outposts and bases. And what I think is happening here is that you're watching Iran test the waters as to just how far they can go in the Middle East to be, the Middle East bad boy.
Right. Joe, Dave pointed out in his opening comment that there's, Americans still being held, and apparently that's the best high dollar asset that they can hang on to. Is the strategy money? Is the strategy PR? I still want to go back to that because I don't see how they would ever consider invading Israel or attacking Israel was ever going to be in their favor.
I'm going to give you the answer. It's going to take this conversation maybe in a different direction. I'm not trying to be snarky, not trying to shoot from the hip here. I'm not angry or anything. I'm representing a view shared by tens of millions of Americans. I don't care. Our country is in a crisis right now where we are losing our national sovereignty, our individual liberty. When this first came out, 9 Americans kidnapped. That was the first news story that I saw that they hyped. Well, I did a Google search just out of interest. How many American citizens are killed by illegal aliens every day? It's more than 9. We don't even know the number because we don't know the number of illegal aliens in this country. We're told it's 12 million, which is laughably low. It's at least 20, and it's as high as 30 million. We can't even come up with a number. The numbers are controversial. Americans are being killed. They're being slaughtered right here in their own country. And I'm not trying to be callous, but, we should be taking care of things in our own nest, our own home. We shouldn't be crying about something that's going on a half a world away. I saw a post by a prominent pro-Israel account, and they were saying, Israel does not have to answer to anybody for handling their own business, their own affairs. I applaud that. I am all for that. Go ahead, handle your own affairs. Leave us out of it. Okay, we're not sending you any more money now. We're staying out of it. And you know what? It's because we have our own problems here. And it's the same thing with Ukraine. Michael Bennet, senator from Colorado, just the other day said, so a United States senator can say that. The border's bad, but we need to send money to Ukraine right now. They need the money. Ukraine is more important than America. He actually said in talking about the border, well, yeah, we got to take care of those dreamers. He didn't say anything about taking care of the American people whose lives are being threatened by this absolute national security crisis on our border. He said, we got to take care of the dreamers. Look at our new Republican Speaker of the House. His first thing he said, what my first duty upon becoming Speaker is to make sure we send aid to Israel. Again, what? We have a border being overrun, and this man is saying Israel is his first act of duty upon being Speaker of the House. Again, this is not being said in anger. I am saying that the tens of millions of Americans agree with me. We are losing this country. What are we doing getting involved in all these conflicts? I feel like I'm in George W. Bush's America again, and the American people decisively rejected that in 2016. And you know what? The crisis is right here at home. Let's take care of our own problems first.
Okay, that completely went kind of crazy, but that's all right,
he
Joe.
He did say it was going to take it in a different direction.
Yeah, and you know what? I think people need to hear exactly those sentiments. So
I think Joe, one of the things that you're up against is that in this country, we have no sense of what the Greeks called sophrosyne, moderation. We are all one thing or we are the other. We cannot look at things in a way that is moderate and be able to take care of problems as they arise, but yet have the shelter of an intellectual approach to safety and security and national security, because we can't do anything but look at the problem du jour. This is a whack-a-mole administration, and quite frankly, we're a whack-a-mole society.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's which way the wind blows. There's foreign policy based on public polling. You know, come on, people, get smarter than that.
Can I ask Dave a question here? Because, you know, I know he's more interventionist than I am, and I would be called isolationist. And I take it as an absolute compliment. I am isolationist, but I think he and I will both agree on this. And this is a practical question. This is a real, geopolitical reality question. Can you have an aggressive, hawkish foreign policy when the home base is as unstable and precarious as it is today? Practically, can it work?
I think you have to try. I mean, it's impractical to think that you have only to do one thing or the other. I think that we're regardless. You know, people like to think that the antonym for populism, you know, is isolationist. No, that's not true. You know, we don't have to be globalists to have something to say about how the world works around us. We're so intertwined militarily and economically, we can't simply back off. What we can do is choose our moments for intervention. And I think what I object to is the Biden administration's foolish picking the moments for intervention.
I think we got a problem here, and that is that, you know, that there's the old saying that, you know, we can walk and chew gum. Unfortunately, we have a president who cannot safely do either one of those two things, let alone both of them together. But we should be able to do that. I believe, look, Islamist terrorism is actually, and has been for many years, a problem for us. And there comes a point where, you know, it could become once again a huge problem here at home. So, you know, I think that, you know, I tend to agree with Joe that our first priority should always be what is going on within our own borders. It's a mess. And I'm personally appalled that we're still sending any money at all to Ukraine, that's become a black hole. And we have no idea where that money's going. Nobody really is accounting for it. And it's awful. Now, as for the Israeli problem, I believe that it is in our interests for the Israelis to completely wipe Hamas off of the face of the earth. But we could do that. We could send military assets out there, naval assets, and we could say to Israel, look, you know what? We're not gonna fund your war, and we're not gonna fight your war for you. However, we've got your back. You know, you go in there, deal with Hamas, finish them off. If anybody tries to stop you doing that, we will step in. But other than that, that's it. Our ships are out there, and good luck. And now we've got a few problems at home to sort out. So I think we can and should do both at once.
Well, you know, looks can be deceiving when dealing with a terrorist organization. Who knows what they will try to pull next? But I think we all know there'll be a next time. Thanks for watching. Thanks, panel. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform, YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble. We're on them all. And remember to hit libertynation.com for all the latest news. I'm your host, Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today for Free Thinking, Free Speech, libertynation.com.
Don't get caught up in the media madness. Join our movement for free thinking and free speech at libertynation.com. Publishing news and analysis 24/7 with original articles by our team of authors who tell it like it is. Join us each week for online TV shows, The Uprising Podcast, and Liberty Nation Radio. We believe in free thinking and free speech. We are libertynation.com.